Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to an evening of live with BaldyPal. I got my co-host Gary. How are you, buddy?
What's going on, Adam? I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Doing wonderful. And Scott, sitting in for Rachel is Scott, the Cha-Ching King. How are you, my friend?
Doing better now that you're here.
Thanks so much for stepping in. Rachel had to go attend her son's play tonight. So, Scott, you're doing an excellent job. Excellent job. And the man of the hour, the guest, the special one, Eric, Mr. OBX Picker. How are you, buddy?
Oh, doing good, man. I thought somebody was sitting behind me or something,
You
man.
looking around for the special guy?
It
can't be
we're doing good, man. Appreciate you guys having me on, for sure.
Absolutely, man. I'm so glad you're here. If you got any questions for Eric, just drop them in the chat. And we'll make sure to ask them to him throughout the show. First off, we got Anthony. Hey, y'all. Good-looking group of guys here tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Something wrong with his camera.
Yeah.
Low standards.
Piqua Resellers is here. Hey, y'all. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for showing up. Mr. CC Jones, the daddy-o, is in the house. Dad's in the house. Thanks, man. Always here to support me. I appreciate you. I'm at lunch at work, and it's been nuts, but I had to stop in and say hello, and I'm glad that you did. Just no driving during the show and chatting this time. All right, buddy? Just to say. Well, Eric, I appreciate you being here. We're here. We're going to get to know more about Mr. OBX Picker. I first met you at FlipCon back in August. Yeah. That was a heck of a show, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good stuff, man. I really enjoyed FlipCon. One of the coolest things about it was hanging out with everybody and meeting other people that you may have seen in passing in a chat, but just to get to know people. Met a lot of good folks out there, and including Adam. Got to meet up with him, so enjoyed it for sure.
I'm glad you included me. I was getting a little offended.
Yeah.
But hey, wasn't that near the time of those big yard sales, like the 127 or something like that? Did you?
Shortly behind 127, to be honest. Like I think it was 2 weeks after 127.
Did you attend those? Did you go to that?
Yeah. I've actually been to 127 for the last 3 years.
Wow.
So I went the first time with Old School Picker. Like I don't know if you've met Chris before, but I'm sure you've seen him around.
Yep.
But yeah, so the first time I went out there was Old School Picker, Rev and Nikki T. I don't know if you remember Rev Resell back in the day.
I know Rev Resell.
Colton and Courtney, Redneck Resell, now CK Treasures. So like the first time we went out there, it was us guys. The next year we had all those guys plus Commonwealth and Uncle Steve and a bunch of other guys out there with us. So we've had a good time this past year. Trash to Cash, all those guys coming out doing the bash.
Yeah, the barbecue bash and those things. I've never been to one of those large yard sales before. Scott, have you ever been to one of those like that?
I haven't been to like the 127. When we go to Duluth, Minnesota, there's one that all of Park Point, it's more like 8 or 9 miles long, but hundreds and hundreds of sales on it. So
yeah, that can compete. It's not 127 miles long, but still, I've only been to the community sales and stuff like that. Gary, I don't think you've ever been to one like that before, have you?
No, nothing like that. I think the biggest sort of, yard sale type thing was more of like a church yard sale, where they get everybody in and, kind of bring their stuff, but nothing like that.
Yeah, I'm actually wearing the shirt today, man. I went to the 127.
There you go.
That was year one.
Piqua Reseller says, Eric, tell me about the Orlando Magic coat that's behind you.
That thing's a majestic vintage Orlando Magic. It's a size extra large. No back hit, just the front hit. It's got the satin white material on it. So
that's really cool looking, though.
It's about $100. That's about what I actually do not have it listed yet. It's just there for decoration right now.
What time era? What year do you think it is? What's it?
It's probably going to be early 90s, to be honest.
Okay.
It's on the older
Shaq era.
Bag.
Shaq era, yeah.
Like the Shaq era.
Yeah.
I gotta be 100% honest with you. I had to look up OBX because I just wasn't sure what it stood for. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Google told me it stands for Outer Banks. Is that what you're? Okay.
Yeah, I live on the Outer Banks. You guys ever seen the show Wicked Tuna? You know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Like
I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it though.
It's on Discovery, I think.
Okay.
So Wicked Tuna Outer Banks is actually filmed in my backyard. Literally, like the fish house where they pack out at is less than a half a mile from where I live right now.
That is
like,
awesome.
So, yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
I live on a small island. It's maybe about 18 miles long and about 2 miles across, maybe. On the Outer Banks. It's like when
That is
people
pretty
tell you they
cool.
live in the middle of nowhere, I always tell people I live in the middle of the ocean. They're like, "Are you serious?" Yeah,
Well,
So are you literally on an island?
yeah, literally an island. You have to take a bridge to get here or a boat. Like that's the only way you come.
he
A
doesn't
bridge
own
or
a
a
Jeep, Gary. He
boat?
owns a boat.
That's right. But it's funny,
Bridge or a
actually.
boat.
You know, my wife and I, a couple of years ago, we were going to go to the Outer Banks for one of our YouTube videos. Take the Jeep there. We were going to take a ferry over to one of the islands that is like an abandoned island that you can actually camp on. And it's the only island in the OBX where you can camp on the beach. And I'm trying to remember the Ocracoke or Fort Smith. Yeah, that's it.
And then you'll take that boat to go to Portsmouth. You won't get a ferry to Portsmouth. You'll have to take a boat. And I will tell you, you take a boat and the mosquitoes will fly you back because that place is made up.
The Jurassic mosquitoes.
So bring the bug spray is what you're saying.
There used to be
shotguns, man. Bring shotguns.
Yeah, it's pretty unique, man. There used to be a cannery there for fish a long time ago. And when all that kind of went out of business, like basically the island shut down, but there's all kinds of buildings there on the island still. It's like ghost town kind of situation.
That's really cool.
It's kind of cool. Lots of history on Outer Banks. The first colony in the U.S. was here. First child born in America that of English descent was here in my county. And then also like first flight. So the land of first.
Yeah.
There
you go. Well, you answered my next question. North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question then. If you live on an island in the Outer Banks, where on earth do you pick up your stuff to pick?
It's crazy. If anybody kind of knows me and gets to know me, I do not mind talking with anybody. Like that's just one of those things. It's always been a trait. I've never met a stranger, and I'm not afraid to tell people what I do. That's a debate in the community. Oftentimes people are like, well, undercover reseller, or whatever. I was like, that ain't me. I'm like, people are like, what are you doing with this camera? Dude, I do a YouTube. I resell things. Like if they're talking about, hey, are you collecting this? No, I'm reselling this. I just tell them straight up.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Depends on how I price it.
And I carry business cards with me so that if for any reason they say, I've had people say at a yard sale, well, my husband wanted to bring out such and such, whether it be golf clubs or something different. And I'm like, oh, here, tell him to give me a card. When he finally wakes up, give me a call.
I'm one of those guys that are like, well, take me in the house and show it to me. Like that ain't a problem.
Yeah, that's right.
I did one time try to buy golf clubs off of a wife because the husband wasn't home.
Oh, yeah.
She almost got in trouble. I almost talked her out of it.
Yeah. It's one of the things. So I literally do drive. It's crazy. For me, it's like 45 minutes to Walmart. So RA is out for the most part. But I prefer to pick in the country. Like if I drive about an hour out, like I've got a private pick tomorrow in the country at an estate. And like I'll drive that hour out because I like old hats and stuff. And you ain't gonna find them at the beach. I just tell you, like not that kind of stuff. You're gonna have to drive. So for me, I'm not afraid to drive. I've traveled to all these long yard sales, and I source everywhere, dude. Like I'll do storage lockers. I'll do estates. I'll do garage sales. Travel to garage sales. Reach out to people on Facebook. Like I don't whatever and wherever. Thrift stores are probably my least favorite because out here they're priced through the roof. But I did get 2 items today at thrift stores for cheap that were good. So
good deal. Well, I want to say hello to everybody who's shown up in the chat so far. We are just a few minutes in, and it is moving. Thank you so much for coming out here to support us. If you do have any questions for Eric or any of us, just drop it in the chat. We'll make sure to answer it as we're going along. Few new names and a few names I recognize. We got Blood, Sweat, and Cells here. Thanks, Leroy, for showing up. How are you, buddy? Kristen, Rural Squirrel. Got Ken, SSK Promo. What's
Mr.
up, my
Bill?
man? How are you, my man? And We got J6 Flips is in the house. How are you, buddy? His videos are starting to really take off. They're really good to watch. Lisa K100's in the house. Thank you so much for coming out. I wanted to ask you about, do you have like we were talking before the show, so it kind of reminded me of this question. Do you have like a guy that hooks you up with like estate sales, you know, or yard sales or things that you should be aware of, that type of thing?
Well, like I told you,
you don't have to name him. You don't have to give out his secret or his telephone number, but I will try to pry it out of you on Instagram after this. But.
Yeah, I know a guy. He calls himself the Junk Man. That narrows it down for you.
Yeah.
But he's the one who gave me this call about this pickup tomorrow. But I don't just have one guy, because I will just tell you, and I give it this advice out on our shows as well. Like, don't just have one guy, because something could happen to one guy, then you out of business. So like for me, like I told you, I tell everybody. So I have people call me all the time. They say, hey, this, that. Getting a little bit of traction on YouTube, that kind of thing, and people knowing me, and people that pick other things. Like, I'm also like at yard sales, I'm talking to other resellers. If I go in the thrift store, I see another reseller, I talk to the reseller.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of guys are specialists and they're only going to do certain things. So just like today, I get a phone call, hey, this thrift store just brought in 6 boxes of media. You think it's something you'd be interested in? I said, I'll go look at it. He said, the guy said $20 for all of it. I went and looked at it. It weren't worth it because somebody had cherry picked it, but I still got 2 items there. But like it's that kind of thing that starts to happen. The more you're doing this, the more you're talking about it, the more you're putting yourself out there. So I've got numerous, but not a guy like Shed Flips guy, you know, not a guy that's calling me and saying, hey, I've got the Grail find. You want to come and throw some money at me? Like, I don't really necessarily have that, but I have had massive scores in the past. Like, if you go back in history a little bit with me, my guy called me one day and said, hey, I just bought a sporting goods store.
Right.
And do you want the contents of the back room? All we care about is the fixtures. And I was like, yes, sir. Absolutely. So, actually, I would tell you, it's one of the scariest deals I've ever made. I bought this sight unseen. And my guy don't have the eye for what I like, right? He don't really know.
Yeah.
So he's like, I was like, can you give me a basic rundown of what's back there? He's like, there's some shoes back there. There's some. The one reason I bought it, to be honest, is he said there was a press back there, like a t-shirt press.
Like t-shirt press? Yeah.
Yeah. It ended up being a hat press, right? Which is a big difference. So he called me sight unseen. He's like, can you meet me there tomorrow at 11? Okay, I'm getting ready to leave, right? Then this guy calls me. He said, I've already loaded the trailer. Do you want it or not? And I was like, what are we talking about? Price? Like, what's the deal? He's like, $750. I'll bring it to your house. Now, this is me beginning stages of reselling.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but $750 to spend on a bunch of junk.
That's a lot
right
of
out the
money.
gate is elite, right? So I said, well, I know he has an 18-foot trailer. I was like, how much stuff is it? He goes, my trailer's half full, like about waist high. And I was like, wow. Okay.
It's about a quarter full overall.
Volume. I should just make something off volume. He rolls up to my house. Now, keep in mind, this is before I have a shed or anything. Like, I'm literally calling around, like, where can I put this stuff? So this guy starts coming to the house. My dining room and den become a sporting goods store in about a matter of an hour. He starts hauling this stuff in. We're looking at it. My parents are over here. My wife's in here. We're looking at the stuff going, oh my gosh, like this is a lot of stuff. But
I would have gotten kicked out of the house for that move.
Dude, before this guy left, when I paid him that cash, and before he left, one of the first things I found in there was the shoe boxes. They were wrapped with paper, like brown paper.
Yeah.
I pulled back the brown paper. It said Converse, the official sponsor of 1984 Olympics.
Oh,
I was like, hello. So I opened it up. I had 3 pair of the low black ox, if you guys know what those are, like the little canvas low top black. Okay, so those things I listed the first pair literally before we even got this stuff out of the way. I'm like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and try to get some money back, right?
Right.
I listed the first pair for $150. It literally sold before I could put my phone back down because I'm a phone lister.
Yeah,
So
yeah, me too.
I said, man, I did that. And it's like cha-ching. I was like,
What?
oh my gosh, 200. I'll list the next one for 200. 200, cha-ching. 250, cha-ching. 300, cha-ching. I was
So,
like,
did you not know how to look up comps, or was there no comps to go
no
by?
comp. No comp.
Wow.
1984 dead stock, bro. Like, I mean,
That is
there's no comp
wicked.
for that.
So,
So I've still got 3 pair in my shed that are singles that were like that literally look like Dr. J wore them. I mean, they're the leather patent
yeah.
with the Converse, and then I have one of the old. I still have one box left, to be honest, and then I've got one single canvas like 80s that was like that. But I literally had all my money back within 10 minutes of.
Wow, that's a wicked story, dude.
So
That's
like
amazing.
3 sales, you got all your money back.
3 boxes of vintage 90s starter jackets. Like every team that was hot in the 90s. Notre Dame, Charlotte Hornets, Penn State,
Wow.
USC, like you name it. Georgetown, all that was in there. I was like,
Man, you
yeah.
had nothing to worry about. When you said that your guy doesn't have the eye for what you like to sell,
You didn't know
and
what
then,
was in there.
and then he
These are all
shows
closed
up with
boxes.
this, I was expecting you to get a
Yeah.
whole bunch of.
Now I got
to be
a
honest with
bunch
you.
of local high school that's actually rivals. That high school's closed. They were rivals with our local school.
Yeah.
Bunch of high school mess. I actually sold that for $100 to somebody inland. So it was one of those things. But man, if you go like in the OBX Picker channel, if you go back in the history,
Right.
I
right.
actually have on video my living room and stuff full. Like you guys be like laughing.
We'll have to pull that up.
Yeah.
Leroy did drop a question for us. He says, question for the holidays, Thanksgiving, will you try to list on Friday to try to pick up some early sales? Right after Friday? I would. Last year I listed the day after Thanksgiving, like a lot, and I made over $1,000 in a week. So it was hot on Thanksgiving. What about you guys? Have y'all just sat to the side and enjoyed the family, or did you actually list during the Thanksgiving holiday time? What do you do, Eric?
For me, it depends on what's going on, to be honest. Like, depends on how quickly I get up from my nap from getting,
From the overload at the Thanksgiving table?
yeah.
How good the turkey was.
Yeah, that's like Thanksgiving tradition, recliner and football, nap,
Yeah,
like,
that's the truth.
But I have listed before on Thanksgiving. I really try to hammer listings out before the week of Thanksgiving really hard. Because like I know that week people are going to be buying. I sold a ton of stuff last Thanksgiving, to be honest. Like during the day, Thanksgiving, what are people doing? Yeah, I heard a little bit about Scott's score, but I hadn't heard the full story. But it sounds familiar for sure.
Give us a brief summary, Scott, on what you got in your pickup.
In which pickup?
The vintage clothes. The
locker.
Yeah, the locker.
To answer, I didn't get to answer the question. You're just like blew me off.
I thought you were answering it when you.
No, the Thanksgiving one. Come on, man. Come on. Yeah, no, I list to avoid family. So, so the locker had about 200 boxes of vintage T-shirts and sweats from 1984 and earlier. All of them new old stock.
That is
and
nuts.
So most of it was wrapped in plastic, so that stuff is perfect. There are some of the boxes, of course, they weren't in plastic. That stuff is in rougher condition, but there's a bunch. Like there's a lot.
That's amazing that stuff is just sitting in a locker like that for 40 years, 30, 40 years.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I think that he put it in there in the 80s, and then in the 90s, the whole back of the locker was like an Apple store. He had repaired Apple computers.
Jeez.
And but it was all the stuff he pulled out of computers. So most of it was no good, but there was about 100 of the Model M keyboards. I don't know if you know what that is, the clicky keyboards.
Yeah, the clicky.
I know what it is.
Were they the
about 100 of
mechanical
those, and there
keyboards?
was
Apple
probably
mechanicals?
6 of the Model F, which those are my son is selling all of that stuff, but the Model F sold for $250 piece. Altogether, it should be $50,000-$60,000 when it's all said and done.
Wow.
What did you pay for the locker?
I paid $821 for the locker, and then but I couldn't empty. It was 10 by 30, like it's full. But
you rent the locker still?
I rented the locker, so it's $300 a month. I spent more in rent than I have on the stuff, but our bid was $2,500. I was willing to go all in, and at
but you wanted it eight something. You stole it, man.
Did you tell what any of it was, or was it just boxes? Like
you need to for anybody in the chat, OBX does not watch my videos.
I've actually watched 2 or 3 of your videos because I saw you on Let's Do Lunch podcast. And,
I have a video where I tell exactly why we bought that locker. Like I went through and said, here are the pictures that are in it. But the bottom line is, it was full. You could just see that it was full. And there was at least a solid inch of dust on everything that hadn't been disturbed. And right in the front, you could see this health net that's still sealed up. And it had the early 1980s logo and all on it. And there were hoodies. And I could see boxes of them. And I thought, I'm not going to lose money on this. This is like,
no brainer.
You knew what you were looking at. I have yet to find a local auction on any of these high bids or any other websites. I just don't think they do it in Columbus anymore. Gary, have you tried to look any up or anything? Have you researched that locally?
No, I haven't had anything like that. There was one thing I did find one time. I'll tell this story real quick. I was at Goodwill, our local Goodwill, and they had a box that was sitting over to the side. It's not as dramatic as y'all's stories, I promise, but it does have a vintage element here. What was inside the box? I opened it up. Wrapped in plastic were a bunch of Alabama unissued license plates from 1968. Awesome. And I was like, brand new, sequentially numbered, never been issued, never been anything. It's almost like it sat in the back of the courthouse in some closet, some room. And they said, what do we do with these? And I said, just donate them. Who cares? And they just did that. And so I had a bunch of people buy them. I actually listed them on Facebook at one point. And I met up a guy locally. He had a 68 Camaro that he wanted to put one on because in the state of Alabama, if you have that official tag from that year, you can register that as your official tag. So you can have that vintage tag on your vintage vehicle. So
that's cool.
It was kind of awesome. So
that is really
he was
cool.
like a kid in a candy store when you had that. I said, this has never been issued.
Did he by chance
in the plastic?
Did he by chance make you dig out a specific number he was wanting?
He did look at a couple of the numbers that I had, and I guess he liked a certain one. Maybe another one had some meaning to him. Yeah.
So what'd you do with the rest of them? Did you get rid of them all in once in one fell swoop?
It was sort of, over the course of about a couple of months, they just sort of gradually sold on eBay. But, it was pretty good. I think I paid like $10 for the entire box, which is crazy. So,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I think I popped like $50 a license plate.
That's not recent. You must have done that a couple of years ago.
This was years ago, yeah. Our Goodwill would have marked that box up to like $150.
That would have been a $100 box right there.
Right.
For sure. So, Eric, you say that you don't really go to the thrift stores because in your area you've noticed that the prices have gone up. Did I hear you right?
When I first started, so I've been doing this like 3.5, 4 years now. And when I first started going to, honestly, and I tell all of the new people the same thing. Like for me, I think thrift stores are a great place to learn. Because you can take your time, you can look stuff up. There's nobody looking at you. There's nobody going to raise the price because they see you with your phone out, any of that kind of stuff. Right. But you can just look stuff up. So I was doing that. And initially my stores out here pre-COVID, the prices, like I had one thrift store, every Saturday was 50% off everything in the store because they're getting so much donations, they're just turning it. I had a couple, like they were a whole chain. It's out here, it's like, gosh, I'm trying to think of what they do. It's for battered women. But if you come to the Outer Banks, they have like 5 of these thrift stores called Hotline. And so if you go to Hotline, back then, depending on who the manager was at each store, like basically you get to know, okay, this place half off on Saturdays. This place, they don't look up XYZ. Like they may look up women clothing, women's shoes, everything else is fair game. Kitchen utensils may be crazy expensive here, but over here, you know, like it's one of those things you kind of get to know. So I was thrifting 4 or 5 times a week, you know, like going so basically if you're going more consistently in a thrift store, you can tell, like, you know, hey, there's nothing new here. I've then went through all this. This is the new stuff that's came out. Like you begin to get to know it. So I was doing okay, doing the thrifting, and I was spending a lot of time looking things up. I found crazy finds in there occasionally, like old box sets, British television, the original Avengers, a little bolo for anybody. If you find the original Avengers, the one that's like the British television version, those things sell for hundreds of dollars.
I didn't know that. On VHS, I assume?
No, on DVD, man. On DVD.
On DVD. Oh, okay.
It's one of those that doesn't stream. Like you're not going to find it on a streaming service. So like people will pay up for it. So there's one particular cover that has some kind of error that's worth a lot more. But if you look that stuff up, you'll be surprised. But anyway, I found that in there at normal prices, you know, same thing. Okay. Now when COVID hits, my thrift stores stopped taking donations.
Yeah.
And then what happened is they would take donations once a day. Well, the way that most of the thrift stores out here work is they have managers, just like Hotline. They have managers. Everything else is volunteer help, or people that are on work, you know, forced, like they're on probation. That are in there. Yeah, I got you. Putting their community service hours in. So, like, there's some of that stuff. So, used to, like, a lot of those guys would end up doing most of the pricing, but when they closed down, now it's all the managers doing the pricing, and dude, they're looking up everything.
Golly.
And they're looking it up, you know, like most people do. The people that have signs at the yard sale, hey, this sells on eBay for this $10,000 Beanie Baby. Like, you know, that's not real. So I've tried to educate them. Other crazy stuff with my thrift store.
I tried to educate them too, and it just fell on deaf ears.
Yeah. Here's something even crazier. I used to do some other gig work out here on the Outer Banks. We live in a tourist area, so I've driven some Uber in the afternoons, not the late night crowd, but the afternoon go to dinner crowd. And so I've done that. One afternoon, I picked up a lady who's a manager at one of the thrift stores. I was like, "How come I never find video games in your stores anymore?" She goes, "Well, we can't test them, so we throw them away."
What?
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Yeah. I did not expect
it should be
you
a capital
to say that.
crime.
Oh
yeah. God. I'm like, I mean, literally, like, you know how your heart just sinks when you hear stuff like that. Kind of like when I go to a yard sale and I said, "You have any old hats?" And they're like, "Oh, we had a bunch of them, but we threw them away." I'm like, you know, that's what I'm telling her. She goes like that. She goes, "Those systems don't hook up to the TV we have." Okay.
The Goodwill in Waco throws away all of the pocket knives.
So here's the thing about I know a guy, right? Here's something weird about I know a guy.
Okay.
So I have a guy that I know that he works for the dump. He works for the trash. I get a call from him one day. He's like, "Hey, are you interested in some video game stuff?" I was like, "What do you got?" He goes, "Well, man, I don't know what the deal was. Somebody threw away 2 complete NES systems with a stack of games." And then I'm like, "I know who that was."
So I'll be there in 5 minutes. Yeah.
So, it's one of those things like, so I mean, that's the weird stuff that, you know, goes on. So now, like, I'll go to the thrift stores today, and I was like, you know, I went to one. Like, used to, my routine was go yard sell and thrift on the way home. Like, that was the thing. But like today, when that guy called me about going to look at the media, I was like, I got to go to UPS. It's right beside that thrift store. I'll go check it. And so I go in there and check it. I found a Medicus golf club. You know what that is?
Yeah. The training clubs.
Yeah, like $55 for $1. If you don't know what that is, it's hinged. If you see one of your like, why has this got a hinge in it? Yeah, any of that training stuff's great. And then there was one video game amongst all that media that was like $13. So $2, but that's it. That's honestly the first time I bought anything from a thrift in probably
And that wasn't even from a thrift. You just found it from the thrift's trash can.
Yeah.
Well, Jump Monkey's got something for you, Gary. Not to mention, Facebook Marketplace will ban you for selling license plates, vintage or not.
I'll say, well, this
I
has
guess
been
I didn't
ages ago,
realize that.
so maybe that rule has changed since that. Well, or I just didn't get caught because it sold fast enough.
The Nurse Looker just recently got a lifetime ban from Facebook Marketplace for selling license plates.
Jeez.
Did she really?
Wow.
Lifetime. It's what they told her.
She can't even work it out, huh?
Well, I mean, you never know, but no.
Yeah. I got an item pulled off of Facebook Marketplace one time and said it didn't meet their policies against firearms and stuff like that, but it was a dartboard. I was trying to sell my old electrical dartboard.
I remember that. I remember you sent me that.
It didn't meet the policies for their it's against their policies because it was a firearm. I was like,
these are the smart people.
Yeah.
These are the
They
these
pulled
are the smart
down I had a Girl Scout, a vintage Girl Scout uniform, the women's, made by Oscar de la Renta, and they took it down and said that it promoted bullying. I was like, I can't even make the leap. I don't even know how you got
no connection
from point A to point B, but I know I don't want to argue with you because that's not going to work.
Adam, didn't you have something? It was a King Kong toy or something like that, wasn't it?
Oh,
and you had taken a picture.
Oh yes,
and it was the monkey's butt.
It was it was the gorilla from that
Rampage, wasn't
Rampage.
it? Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that was
it. It was the George Gorilla, and they wouldn't let me put it up because it was nudity.
Well, no, Adam, that's just completely out of line. I don't know what you were thinking.
Dude, I guess they never checked their reels.
I can't believe I agreed to do this live with somebody
right?
who posts that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You guys ship on Facebook Marketplace? Or have y'all done the shipping through those guys? Or
yeah, I do. Yeah. I do. I think it was Wyatt Rewilded Reselling who gave me the advice to put my men's shoes on Facebook because of how well they sell on there, and so I did, and it worked out so well. I just started cross-listing everything on Facebook Marketplace, and so yeah, I mean, for at least 2 years now, I've been on Facebook Marketplace. I
was doing it for a while, and then I hit that $600 threshold, so they were asking for my ID. Well, when I signed up for Facebook, I used my, here we have PO boxes.
Yeah.
So I used my PO box, and my driver's license has my physical address.
Right.
So literally I still do not have this straight. I message them every 2 or 3 days for a year, and I still don't have it straight. I'm like, dude,
I can't believe you got in touch with any real person.
No,
on Facebook.
No. I'm saying I would just email them, and they're like, "We're looking into your thing." I was like, "Is there anybody out there?" Then I would get on Messenger, and you get the bot.
Nobody's out there.
The bot's also looking.
I got booted off of Facebook a couple of years ago from my original page I had for, I don't know, maybe college, because I don't know why. I truly don't know why, but it was because they wanted me to upload a picture of my license to verify my identity, and I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So if
you didn't upload a monkey butt, did you?
No, I didn't upload a monkey butt. But I'll tell you what, Eric, they haven't asked me. I guess I haven't hit the $6 mark yet, but they haven't asked me to upload my license for selling on the marketplace. I guess if they do, I may just have to wait, pull everything down, and then start over next year, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I've just recently changed over to where I actually have a corporation versus, not a full corporation, but LLC versus my individual. So I'm trying to reset everything.
That's a good point. I've got an LLC now. Maybe I can get away with doing that instead of doing my license.
They do have a business side. So then you just upload your documents about your LLC. So
okay.
Straight.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yard Sales and Dreams is here tonight. How's it going, everybody? Thanks for showing up. Appreciate you. Let's see if there's any questions in the chat here. Junk Monkey says, I hate to leave good company, but he's got to get ready for his own show. So when this is over, y'all head on over to Junk Monkey. Anthony C. I found one of those hinged golf clubs once, and the thrift store wanted $50. $50.
That's how much retail.
Yes. I'm gonna get on a soapbox for just a second. I'm sorry.
Do it, Adam. You know you want to.
Rants. Let's go rants.
This is the rant section.
Have you, before you were a reseller, Did you ever think, oh, I'm looking for something specific. Let me go to Goodwill and see if I can find it? The answer is no. I know the answer is no, right? Not something specific. I don't believe anyone actually goes to Goodwill looking for something specific, such as a golfer who's looking for a Medicus training club.
Yeah.
Right? So, in my humble opinion, they're losing money by doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're just
I always
money.
tell them, like, the thing that frustrates me is you are getting these items for free.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you're getting these items for free. Most of the thrift stores out here have volunteers. You are not paying money. Like, you don't own this stuff. It's not your stuff. Like, flip it.
Yeah,
I have one friend who owns a thrift store, like, away from here. When I do go out there, her motto is, like, when I come in there, she goes, I know you know what it's worth. Just pay me whatever you think. Like, that's her thing. But her thing is, with any customer that comes in there, she's like $1, $2, whatever. Like, she's got stuff. She goes, my back room's full all the time. Like, just if you turn it, like, you know, fast nickel versus slow dime.
Yeah,
you're not going to
get
slow dime.
Now, is that a reseller frame of mind? Is that, I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate. Is that truly just a reseller's frame of mind, or is that what I consider just common sense? You know, if you want to move it, move it. You spent nothing in it. If you want to move it. You are not a store meant to keep inventory for months upon years.
I think they get personally involved. I think that they really get where they're attached to it personally, because you can always tell too, like, certain people who are in their pricing, like, you know that they like this stuff, so they're just raising the price on it. But then my other theory is this: lazy. Honestly,
why?
That's my other theory. Because, okay, if I stock all these shelves and I don't sell anything, what do I got to do? Nothing.
Oh, so you're making yourself giving yourself the opportunity to be able to just sit back and relax.
Yeah,
because your shelves are too full to put anything new out.
I mean, like, you're processing very little at that point. Like, the thrift stores literally out here are throwing so much stuff away. Guys, Goodwill throws so much stuff away every day. I know people that work in some of these places,
which is ridiculous. But Kristen's got a good point. Just wait, most of the pricey stuff won't sell. I know it won't, but it'll end up in the bins instead.
And ours, it ends up in the landfill. Case in point.
Well, but you know, and that's a good point too. And this is going to be Gary's portion of this rant here. That, you know, Goodwill has the ability to take in virtually unlimited amounts of inventory, right? And they could take that and they could flip it, fund their job programs, fund whatever it is. And it's not just Goodwill; it's a lot of thrift stores that are doing this too. Yeah. But the thing is when they're not selling it, like you just said, it ends up in the garbage. It ends up in the trash at some point. It enters landfills. People aren't able to purchase some of this stuff because you're only a few dollars below what typical retail would be on some of these things. Yeah. And it's not even just specific items. A lot of it is things like clothing. I was in there, Adam, remember I sent you this picture the other day. It was a Joseph A. Banks, it was a suit. And it was a new suit, and they wanted $200 for this in the thrift store. And I'm thinking, this is insane. Your regular suits are priced like at $25 or something like that. You're going to charge $200 for this? This is nuts. You know, nobody's paying for this.
No one's going into the thrift store looking for a new suit, willing to pay $200 for it, and that they have your size.
Yeah, and so all of this stuff ends up in a landfill, ends up in the garbage. If you say, well, what about the people who need it? Well, they don't have access to it then at that point. You know?
So I have not had a rant yet.
Rant away, Scott. It's your turn.
Scott's turn. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
First of all,
he's been taking notes.
I wrote all this down before. Goodwill donates less than 18% of their profits to donate it to charity. In 2013 alone, 12.8 million tons of textiles went to landfills. And the large companies, the large corporations on average donate less than 1% of their goods. And resellers donate over 2% on average of their goods. So the next time think about this, the stuff that's going into landfills, when you go in and buy it, on average, resellers are donating almost 3 times the amount that Goodwill does. So not only are we not taking this away from homeless people, which, because I mean, I was one of them, I would still be homeless if I couldn't resell stuff. We're getting more of it to the people that need it than Goodwill ever will.
I love that. I love that. And if I ever get a manager from my local Goodwill to be on my show, Scott, I'm going to invite you to
I will wear them out. I will wear them out.
I would love it.
Adam, you should do an episode where the person comes on and they're wearing like, you know, a mask of some sort. So we hide their identity and the true inside as to what Goodwill is. Yeah, change their voice and everything like that. You know, like one of those Dateline, NBC shows or something like that. The real secret behind it.
I will be 100% honest with you. I got fed up because of a stupid price in Goodwill, and I reached out to the local Goodwill Instagram. Okay, I DM'd them. I sent them a picture of their dumb price and I said, have your profits actually gone up or down since you've started pricing these ridiculous prices? And that's what I said to them. And it was in a DM, not on a public platform. And they replied back, but they replied back something to the point of, our pricing strategy is this and that and this and that. They didn't answer the question. Right. And I replied back again and I said, tell you what, I've got a podcast. If you can get me in touch with one of your managers or pricing managers or region managers, I would love to interview them on my podcast. And I gave them my email address. I didn't give them my telephone number. I gave them my email address, but I've yet to hear from anybody. So steps in the right direction. I'm trying to get one on.
So let me ask this. Have you stopped donating to Goodwill because of what their pricing strategy has been? For me, it has changed it. You know,
I don't take it to Goodwill. I take it to like there's a couple thrift stores that, like I said, one that's away from here. A lot of times I'll store it up and I'll take it to her because I'm like, I know it's going to recycle.
Yeah.
But like so Hotlines, for instance, out here, what they do with a lot of their clothing is they sell it by the pound to a company, one of those textile companies. So like, instead of putting it on the shelf for a reasonable price, they just like, the easy thing is just throw it in this dumpster. This guy comes, picks it up, and they haul it off. But you think about this, like, okay, so you're at FlipCon, right? How about the Goodwill dude standing up in FlipCon? He paid for a ticket, came there. He's the Goodwill online guy. So the rumor was going around.
Did not realize this, man.
Okay, so listen to this. This is some backroom FlipCon talk here.
Get the real insight here on the BaldyPal show.
So FlipCon, so people came up to Josh and they're like, "Hey, so there's this guy here. He has like one of the largest stores on eBay. He's selling however many $1,000 a month, and so come to find out." It's the Goodwill guy. It's Goodwill's eBay store that's selling all these thousands of dollars a month. He's the guy that stood up in the middle of the Q&A and it was like, when someone asked about, if I can't find a comp for an item, what should I do with it? Like, how should I price it? And the guy's like,
okay, I know what question.
Price it for $7, or whatever, and like run it out. And I'm like, dude, I'm sitting there thinking, you're Goodwill. Y'all never price anything for $7.
$7 is a half off day.
We've got the enemy in the ranks right now.
I did not realize that, man.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
Some of the stuff that they price up, they're just going to turn around and send it to their online stores.
Yeah.
Like, I was followed on Instagram by an account called the Goodwill Research Team. And so their account was private. So I thought, well, I'm going to follow you back. And when they wouldn't approve me, they declined it. I was like, yeah,
they're researching you.
I don't block anybody, but welcome to the block club. Because they just want to see what I say stuff is worth, but they won't let me see who they're talking to. Yeah, that was enough for me.
Anthony C says, man, one of the workers I talked at my Goodwill said that they are paying rent for trailers just to store stuff so that they can take the time to go through it. I believe that. I know that's true way back after they opened the stores back up and whatnot, but I didn't know it was still going on right now. He said they need to realize they are playing the volume game and start turning their product. Absolutely.
Right.
Why can they not figure that out? They had it. They had it.
Think about
and then
this.
they came into this.
How far would you drive and how much would you pay? Like right now, most of the Goodwills are $1.49 to $1.79 a pound, but you know it's been picked to death before it ever gets out on the floor. How much more would you pay if it's raw? It's coming straight out into the bins, and they're going to pump that stuff in and out of there quick. I would want to be at that store when there's a chance that I'm going to pull out the magic jacket, like.
I'll be honest with you. If they just Atlanta has consistent pricing for clothing, and I like going to Atlanta. It's a little bit higher than our typical prices in Columbus. Let's say if our t-shirts are $2, their t-shirts are $3. If our polos are $4.50, theirs are $6, right? But they're consistent. If I find one that I would normally pick up, I know it's going to be $6, not $9.99 or $12.99 or $14.99. So I actually enjoy paying $1 or $2 or $3 more, knowing it's consistent.
Yeah.
And going to Atlanta and going to their 7 or 8 stores around Atlanta. Then here in Columbus, I'll find a shirt I know would flip for, let's say, $20-$25, but it's a cool shirt. I mean, KUHL, the brand cool, but they've priced it at $9.99, right? So that's what we got to live with these days, right? Lisa K says it's all about the greed. All right. So let's get off of our soapbox. Let's get off of our ranting. I've got a game prepared for the show, and we're going to play it right now. It's called More or Less. All right, everybody. This game of More or Less. This is where I will show off 5 or 6 something items, and I made up a price. I hid a real price that it sold for, and I have made up a new price for the item. And what our players have to do is determine if the actual sold price is more or less of the suggested price that I show on the screen. Now, I'm going to keep score. Tally right over here on my handy dandy piece of paperwork. I was going to say notebook, but I didn't want to be a Blues fan. But the point of the game is whoever can get the most right wins. All right. So, Eric, Gary, Scott, have you got your little cards to show off your more or less? Y'all ready to play the game?
So is this Goodwill pricing or eBay pricing?
these are some of these are auctions, some of these are buy it nows, but these are what they actually sold for on eBay. So here's the first item. It's Christmas time, and I came across this set of 19 CVS plush collector's items from 1998 and 1999 from the Stop Animation Christmas Story, right? Rudolph, the Island of Misfit Toys, that type of thing. There's 19 items in the set, and I was curious to know if this was a complete set, but I found out that 24 makes a complete set. So it's an incomplete set. And I say it sold for $175.50. But you have to tell me, did it actually sell for more or did it actually sell for less? Go ahead and hold up your vote. All of you say it sold for less than $175.50. All right. Well, we will go ahead and play the first one. And you are wrong.
Ouch.
All of you got it wrong. Sold for 28 bids at $232.50. I was a little shocked at that too. I recently sold like 5 of them for $40. So.
Wow.
Rachel told me I got ripped off. I should have sold it for more.
Wow.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for CVS plus toys.
Absolutely. CVS, Stop Animation, Island of Misfit, those plush toys. All right, this one. The next item is a Rolex. It is a Rolex Oyster Perpetual turquoise blue men's watch. Wow. I think the thing that gets me here is they shipped it for $5. So,
guaranteed authentic.
I would not do that.
About this stuff.
But my suggested price, my proposed price is it sold for $19,225. $5. And because I didn't do a very good job of covering it up, you can see there were at least 2 bids on this item. New with tags as well. So y'all go ahead and hold it up. Do you think it sold for more or for less? Gary says more. Eric says less. Scott says less. All right, everybody. Why'd you say less, Eric? Why do you think it sold for less?
Because I did see the 2 bids, to be honest.
Okay. Gary, what'd you go for? What'd you say more?
Do you know how hard it is to get a Rolex right now? It is tough to get a Rolex in the watch world right now.
Okay.
So especially new.
It's like technology, everything kind of got misplaced.
Rolex held back a bunch of stock. It's kind of been a big deal in the watch world right now. So,
okay. Yeah. Sounds like you know something I don't know.
Yeah, so far I've gotten 1,000. These are neither categories I know anything about.
I'll be shocked if this goes for less than that. I will be really shocked.
The answer is more.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Sold for $36,900.
That's more than my car.
Find me a Rolex right now, brand new for $19,000, and I'll buy 2 of them. Yeah, so
that's nuts, man. That's more than my truck. Just like what Eric just said.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. The next
big Robert in the house, man. Good to see you.
Who we got? I didn't see it.
Robert.
Hey, what's up, Upstate Picker? Thanks for joining us, buddy. Appreciate you. All right. The next item up is an antique World War II Japanese officer's katana.
Oh.
Now
37 bids, man.
It's signed. It says double signed, and that got my interest. So I looked at the pictures, and it's etched with some Japanese characters, and that was displayed as the signatures that he's talking about. Now there was one on one side and one on the other. I just fit one here for the game. But antique World War II Japanese officer's katana sold for $12,287. 37 bids. You think it sold for more or for less? The actual sell. All of you say less. Scott, why do you say less?
I'm doing this the same way I did tests in high school, just by the pattern method.
Okay, answer D. All right, so the answer is less. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So for
my buddy Ott just found 3 of these in a storage locker this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
3 of these Japanese swords, and he sold it to a guy for $3,300 for all 3. Cash money.
There you go. You had some information on that, some history.
Finally.
That's good. But $1,300, that's nothing to shake a stick at. That's pretty good, especially when you find them in a what'd you say, a storage shed?
Storage locker. He paid $180 for the storage locker.
There you go. 3,000 in one fell swoop. All right, the next one is a 3.8-inch polished petrified oak sphere.
Stinking water? What in the world?
3.8-inch polished stinking water. I think that's a city. Stinking Water, Oregon.
Okay.
It's petrified oak wood shaped into a 3.8-inch
I would not want to shower in that
sphere.
time.
All right, so my proposed price is it went for $845 off of 5 bids. What do you think? More or less?
I'm gonna switch it up.
All right. So Gary's more, Eric's more, and Scott is less. Scott, are you just going by the?
Yes. Yes. I have no idea.
All right, Gary, what do you think? Why do you think it went for more?
To me, I mean, it's petrified wood. That's number one. Number two, that took some serious craftsmanship to get to that point. So I think that someone put some time in that.
That's good. That's good. All right. The actual sold price is $70.
Well, not that much.
Scott, you got it right.
Gary, you let me down. Gary's been getting them all right, so I just copied him this time.
That was your first mistake, Eric.
I'm 2 for 2 now.
I thought you had insight.
I said I'm 2 for 2.
Yep, you got 2. Gary's got 2, Scott's got 2, and Eric, you've got 1, buddy. All right. Here's the last item. It is some vintage 501 Levi's from the 50s.
From the
Pre-owned now for 22 bids.
501s.
My proposed price is $3,200. You know anything about vintage Levi's, Scott?
Yes.
All right. So,
Yeah.
good job. Good job.
I have
All right.
no
So go
clue
ahead and
what they
reveal
sell
more
for.
or less. More or less. All right. More, and more. All of you say more. Wow.
Nope. I have to go different than Gary, otherwise nobody wins.
Okay. So Scott changed his
I'm
vote
already
to
losing.
less. That might be the one who wins the show. The actual sold price is $4,200.
Grace is the word. Wow.
First I thought,
Amazing.
First I thought Scott just didn't write the word more. He just said
$4,200 for a pair of vintage Levi's. Does anybody know what kind of person spending $4,200 on a pair of pre-owned vintage
someone
Levi's?
with a whole lot more money than me.
Absolutely.
A lot
Is
of
this
those
an
jeans are
appreciated
going
market?
overseas. A whole lot of them.
Huh.
Overseas, huh?
That makes sense.
Japan, big into the vintage Levi's.
Wow.
You know what's
Well-
crazy is check this dude's title. Like, I mean,
That's it.
That's it. That's all he's got.
Yeah.
What else can you put in there?
1950s. Just
That's
50s.
It's crazy, right?
I guess you could put the size in there, maybe dark wash or tapered leg, something like that.
Yeah,
But
the
no,
size would be good. I mean,
In
why
that
would
in that condition, there. I mean, I've seen ripped up 50s.
Those are pretty crispy.
Selling for,
yeah.
selling for way.
well, all right. Well, congratulations, Gary. You have won this episode of More or Less. Good job. Good job. Good job.
All right.
Looks
I had to
looks
get
like
back to my
everybody.
winning circle for a while.
Golf top
Yeah.
solid.
Looks like everybody in the chat thought that the Levi's were more as well. So I was
Those were
surprised.
super clean for sure.
Man, I look up Levi's whenever I see them. I'm looking for is Levi's with the 2 X's. I feel like those are supposed to be something worth some more money than
The
others.
capital E's. You want to look for capital
I
E's?
never see capital E's. I look for them, but I never have. That's on my bucket list.
Capital E is pre-1971.
Yeah.
And then
Is there one with the orange tag too? Like you want to look?
yeah, but they've made orange tag all the way up into the 90s.
Yeah.
Originally in the 1960s, the orange tab jeans were the 1960s and earlier. They were like experimental jeans, ones they would try and release a style and see how that would work out. So
Bearded PokeTuber said that he thinks that it would have been closer to $10,000.
Probably if he had a better title.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get the right bidder and you're at the right time.
I think you've nailed it. The title was no good. It wasn't showing up. It only have like 5 bids on it, if I'm not mistaken. So they just didn't get enough attention. Actually, I was wrong. It was 22 bids. I think if it could have gotten more attention, it might have gotten up to that 10K price, right?
I would have probably listed it for 10K. Take best offer.
every decade you go back, though, they go up in price a lot. If you get up to the like pre-war, they start rising dramatically. And if you can get pre-1900s, there was that pair that sold here last month for what, 57,000?
Yeah, that was found in that mine or something like that. Yeah,
right.
That was crazy. So that makes me want to ask: do y'all, any of y'all, whoever wants to jump in first on this, do y'all have like a reseller bucket list where you have a list of these really grail items that you want to look for in the stores or yard sales, and check it off the list when you come across one? Gary, you ever thought about doing something like that?
I don't. It wouldn't be to resell. It's just for me. It's just for me. For me, I would love to find, a type of vintage watch, an Omega, Rolex, something like that, more in the vintage era. Even something like an old vintage stopwatch or not stopwatch, a pocket watch, something like that was like railroad use. That would just be for my personal collection, though.
I know you like watches, though.
Yeah.
So I do have one, and I was trying to find it to see if I could list some of the things off, but I just can't put my finger on it right now. But it's things like I have never come across a pair of Teaks, Rothy's. I've never come across Rothy's. Those type of things are what's on my grail list. Eric, Scott, either one of y'all got a reseller bucket list like that?
For me, it's pre-war denim. You get back into the I'm like Eric, man. I like this stuff that's sitting out in these old farms and places like that way more than I do running into a thrift store in Dallas. But you know, if you could get 1920s, 1930s overalls, something like that, really worn. And Lisa Kay asked me if I had a video on Levi's, and I don't. But for me, it's that pre-war denim. Like, it's massive money, but it's also just super cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I wish there were more opportunities for me to get to like estate sales. And the reason, I'm a part-time reseller. Eric, you're full-time though, right? You're full-time reseller. Yeah. Well, I'm a part-time reseller, and I say it. It's harder. I say that because they start on Thursdays and Fridays where I'm working, and they're usually always picked over by Saturday when I can attend. But every now and again, I've been known to, if I see a good one listed with good pictures of something, I've been known to take like the first half of the day off and go to it and something like that. So it happens occasionally.
My bucket list is 3-stripe hats, in particular. If you find a diet slice hat,
really,
that is the grail of 3-stripe hats. If you can find that.
The first 3-stripe hat I found was in Duluth, Minnesota, at the Salvation Army, and I was brand new to like hats. I didn't know, I couldn't picture anybody paying more than $5. I bought one for $1, and it was the Pepsi 3-stripe hat in unworn condition, mint condition. And I got out to the car and I started looking it up, and as soon as I can find one, it's like holy grail of Pepsi hats. It was like $350.
Yeah,
and I was like, that is insane.
Is it something like this?
If you add the word Pepsi, you'll find it. Like, it's the hat. The one I had was mint. Like, and then I kept going back. I kept thinking, somebody's got a box of those. I know it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I never heard of 3-stripe hats before. But they're more than just Pepsi, right? I mean,
there's a bunch of them. You can get them in. Like, I just sold a Kodiak Racing 3-striper for $100.
Okay.
Just the other day.
Yeah.
But
what era is that
I would tell you, like
70s?
like eBay, look at that slice hat, and you'll be
Or you could just get on eBay and look at sold and then sort by highest. Because those hats are incredible. Eric picked a good one because I found one, so I feel special.
Yeah. There's 3-stripers. I found
slice.
Also, like honestly, one of the grail hats that's out there is a 3-striper Chattanooga Chew. If you ever see that, it's round.
Never had
looking.
one.
Man, those things are like killer, like unreal. Yeah. When you look at that, the slice I think goes for around $2,000. So,
what is Kristen talking about? Do y'all know what she means by "I just learned about scrambled eggs"?
Scrambled eggs is, I might have one right here.
I don't know. Her friend Rachel is vegan, so maybe.
No. Scrambled eggs is. You see the gold leaves on hats? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, like a Navy hat or a military hat or something like that.
Yeah, that's what we call scrambled eggs. That
okay.
Gold-looking leaves that are on the bill.
Okay.
Right,
I thought they were more like a feather or a leaf. Yeah.
If you're in the vintage hat game, like that's one of the things that you'll hear talked about all the time. It's scrambled eggs, snapback, 3-stripers, like that kind of stuff. Like you can run into. Normally, I have a whole stack. Like, so one of the cool things I found one time was this.
Wow! Look at that, K Products.
Yeah. I don't know what that is. You're teaching
me.
So
K
Products is?
No.
Yeah. All right, Adam. Let me give you like just a 1-minute little hat education.
Okay. Go.
Okay. Let me talk to you about some brands. K Products, K Brands. K Brands is the older version. Made in USA. You're going to see Made in USA on snap bills, and that means they're usually a little older. Like, see that right there? Mm-hmm. Made in USA.
Yes.
If you see Made in USA
snapback,
they're worth picking up. But then you can see, so K Brands, K Products are two good ones to look for. Anything Made in USA, you also see like Taiwan Rock, ROC. That's the Republic of China, so that dates them as well. That's the later 80s, even early 90s. But like K
what do you got there in that box?
These are newer hats. Nothing grail like. My grails are in the shed. I'll show you one of those hats.
Real quick while he's looking, if
Yeah.
it says Taiwan Rock on it, the ROC, that's the Republic of China. And China did not allow them to use that anymore on their branding after 97. So it's absolutely before 97 and going.
All right. So look, this is scrambled eggs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've recognized that.
In various terms, like this is a.
Are you gonna find those on more than just military hats though?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, old school farm hats have them. This is something else you need to look for. Corduroy hats are super hot.
Oh yeah, I found a Hawaiian corduroy once before.
This one right here, Mark Martin, is, here's the one detriment to any hat. I'll just tell you, you can bring them back from anything but this.
What's that?
This has got the cornflakes in the bill.
Is it broken?
Oh,
Yeah,
crunchy.
broken bill. There's nothing you can do.
Okay, so that brings a question to mind. I've come across hats before that have the foam, but the foam is all rotten.
Vacuum it out. That's no problem. Vacuum it out.
It's better if the foam was perfect, but oh well.
Okay.
You can literally.
You know what I call those? Dusty gold. If you find them in the hat,
store them in a separate bin.
So just go ahead and take the time to just clean out the remaining pieces and then sell it as like
take
that.
you a piece of cardboard and just cut it and stand it back up, and you can steam them.
Okay.
Like the way this one is, like you can just steam it back up. It's no problem.
Hats are 100% worth doing just a little bit of research on.
Yeah.
It's something you can still pick up cheap enough, and there's awesome money in hats. Like there's, I was trying to find
I used to have I don't know what it's called. I bet one of you do, because you knew what the shark's tooth, like I feel like I've heard that before, the shark's tooth hat. But in the 90s I bought this hat where they had this time era where they made the logo of the team cover like the whole hat.
Yeah, it's all over print.
Okay, so like I'm a Braves fan, and I had a Braves hat with the A, where the A started right like over my left eye,
$100 hat.
went over the back of my
Logo Athletic or some brand like that. That was
Logo
doing that.
7, Logo
is that
Athletic.
is that all over
Top of the
print, or
world.
is that got a different name to it?
Yeah, it would be an all over logo. Like they have other things that are called like spell out. Like see this hat right here? So this is an Oakley spell out. It just means that the letters are big. They're going across the front.
I guess what I'm getting at is like shark's tooth is, that's kind of a nickname, right?
Yeah.
To represent what it looks like. But there's not a nickname for the logo being all over the hat, like big hat or big logo. Or,
it'll say big logo or all over one or the other. I just sold a Charlotte Hornets hat like that for $100.
Okay. I've always kept my eye out for that because I wanted to try
let me tell you,
one.
my guys that are with me on Tuesday. So Cernox Connection, he is the hat godfather. I'll just tell you, like, there's not a one. That's a killer hat right there.
Is that your?
There's not a one that you're gonna run across that Cernox. He can tell you pretty much if you just tell him the tag, he'll tell you what it is. Like if you just show him the thing, he'll tell you what it is.
That's nuts, Eric. Well, hey, let's do that real quick, Eric. Drop some information for our guests who may not in our chat who may not have seen your show before. When does it come on and when does it air?
All right, so we've started a new channel. For me, 2 years ago, I saw a guy list for 17 hours straight. The guys from Australia, Ken Skeets. Him and his buddy, they did a 17-hour listing show, and I got inspired. So I started a listing show. I actually challenged myself to list 80 items in 8 hours, 80 random items, not pre-selected or anything like that. I did it. It took me 8 hours. Well, what happened is I dropped the link all day. People came in and hung out with me, kept me company, encouraged me, listed with me, that kind of thing. Well, there was a few guys that are like, man, I was super inspired by that. It helped me get through the day. Would you continue to do that? So I started doing it, and we started calling it Listing and Loafing on every Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern till about 2 o'clock. we run that show, and we work and we answer questions, and we do show and tell, and like show you some of the stuff we found that week or whatever. Cernock is in there, and like I said, when it comes to vintage clothing, boots, shoes, t-shirts, hats, like Cernock's like an encyclopedia walking around. They say I can't tell you the number of times I've shot him pictures of tags, and I was like, Cernock, what about this? Oh, that's da 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 da. And he starts laying it out. You know, like, hey, what do you think that'll sell for? That'll sell for do 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 do. You know, like
That's crazy.
If you've ever seen, like, if you come in there on a Tuesday and he's shooting in the basement. His basement looks like it has more clothes than most clothing stores. And he probably has right now. I would not shy away from 2,000 hats that he has. And he can tell you, like the other day, somebody shot me a picture of one. It's a 3-panel hat on the front. It has like 2 white sides. And in the middle, it's got a logo of a baseball team. Right. He's like, yeah, that's AJD, whatever. Like he knew what that was just by looking at the front of the hat. And sure enough, that was it. So like, that's the thing. So he's in there. Tim, over the years, if you don't know who he is, Tim is a glass guru. Oddly enough, if you meet and talk to Tim, you're going to be like, no way.
Yeah.
He does a vintage glass auction every Monday night. He also does sports cards and a little bit of everything else. He's got in the vintage clothing game. Leroy, Blood, Sweat, and Sell, he was in here earlier. If you've talked to Leroy at all, you know he's like tool guy.
Tools, yep.
I can tell you. And usually Old School Flips is with us hanging out, and he's toys. You know, he's all about toys, and he can tell you a lot of that stuff. And me, I'm the jack of all trades, master of just a little bit of stuff.
That's excellent, man. Yeah. I'd love to catch that show one day. I mean, it's on for, what'd you say, 9:30 to 2?
Yeah, 9:30 to 2 on Tuesdays. We've also, what's grew out of that is we actually, you know, Scott, I have watched a few of your videos because I was intrigued when you popped on the Let's Do Lunch podcast. Like, I'd heard your name, but I'd never really got into it. I'll be honest, like if you do YouTube, and you guys all know, you tend to watch less and less reseller YouTube because
it's hard.
You're doing your own thing. But I was intrigued because you do a lot of, this is how you do this. And this is some tips and some helpful things. So the 5 of us, we have got a little coaching. I've been friends with Kevin Commonwealth Picker for a few years, and we were talking one day. He's like, I would love to be able to send guys to you guys because I learned from watching your show too. And so he's like, why don't you guys start doing something that's more Q&A style? So we actually started the Reseller Information Network. That's the new channel. It's got listing and loafing on there, and Reseller Information Network is just every episode we're taking questions about people that have questions saying, okay, I've got this. How do you do this? Whether you're a beginner, whether you're intermediate, whether you're a so-called expert, we're taking it all the way across the board. And so we do segments like the 101. So the very basic of the basic, we do deep dives where we'll dive into, like we did there, this specific tag, you know, look at this tag. This is something you're looking for. We also do trending, like what's going on now. I dropped a short video today on that channel, and it's just talking about, here's some things to buy for Christmas. Christmas. These things will sell for Christmas. Yeah, Reseller Information Network. So come and check that out. And then we do just a Q&A section, a reseller hack section. And basically we're trying to go back to basics for us, because I know you guys, like all the rest of us, when you first start, man, if you watch a lot of YouTube, this guy's saying this guy's saying that, like, you know, you get all this stuff. One of the things we talk about a lot of times is like, look, there's a million ways to do this thing. Like,
yeah, there really is.
There is. And honestly, really what I try to do is I take some from him, and I take some from him, and I take some from him, and I take some from him. And I try to put it in what will work for me. Like I've already told you, I live on an island. Okay, there are people that'll tell
He
you
literally lives on an island. I
Yeah.
can't get past that.
yeah. So there are people that'll tell you niche down, right? I'm sure you've heard this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Niche down. Like you need to find a category, you need to stick to that category. I can tell you, man, if I had to depend on buying shoes where I'm at, like I'm gonna be in the bread line. You know, I'm gonna be like saying, "Hey guys, I need somebody to send me some money. I can't keep the lights on." Like I can't do that. But what I can do is I can take and learn a niche like I have with hats. I love hats because my granddad was a farmer and everybody gave him hats when I was growing up. So I remember going to his house and he's got loads of hats. And so he wore a hat. You know, he had his going to town hat, he had his work hat, and that's what was going down. So like I've always liked that stuff. When I learned that you can sell hats and make money. Now when people go to yard sales and they say, "Do you have any video games?" I say, "Hey, do you have any old hats?" Especially out in the country. And they're like,
That's
"Oh
awesome.
yeah, my granddad's
Let me
got
give everybody in the chat a tip for hats that has worked for me in the past. If you're out in the country and you see these old co-op stores, the feed and grain stores, the ones that have been sitting there forever, they a lot of times have a box of old hats in the back from the 60s and 70s. And some of those hats are 500
farm equipment stores. Yeah,
I'm going to immediately take your advice on that because where I grew up in Harris County, Georgia, there's two of them that have been around for as long as I've been alive.
The worst thing they can say is no.
Yeah.
Elle
and Michelle. Elle and Michelle says, "I love all the hat talk." Well, that's good. Eric knows a lot about hats, and so does Scott. Hats are one of my favorite niches. Literally just got back from the thrift with a new Supreme hat. New with tag Supreme hat. Vintage Nike hat. Vintage Pendleton Newsboy hat. And a few other low ends. He found a lot of grails right there in that one stop.
Yeah.
The Pendleton Newsboy hat. See, I would like that. That's my kind of hat that I like right there. So
Elle and Michelle, I don't think I know them.
Elle and Michelle, aspiring clippers. First off, thanks for joining us in the chat tonight. We do
I bet those are girls.
Yeah. Hey, if for any reason y'all haven't subscribed to the guys that are on the show right now, I've dropped a link to their YouTube channel in the description below. Please make sure to check them out before y'all head out and go anywhere. Eric, I gotta say, man, I have had a wonderful time tonight talking with you, hearing your stories. I want to invite you back at a later time so that we can hear even more at a later time. Maybe even play some more games, right? Does that sound okay?
Yeah, next time I'm picking the hats, and then I can see if I can win that one.
It's going to be a game strictly about hats. How about that?
How many did this hat sell for? What do you think this hat sold for?
All right, it won't be a loaded game at all.
No, you're good. You're good.
Gary, you're losing. Period. The end. Scott and Eric got you.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, do it on watches, and I got this one.
All right, Gary, check that out.
What you got? Watches. What is it?
Trying to see like.
Let me make your picture a little bit bigger here, Scott. All right, you got watches.
It's still a little
broken watches.
Blurry on that one. I'm trying to see the brand on that one that's in the center. It looks like a Pepsi, like what we call a Pepsi model.
It was the Pepsi Seiko. That was a margarine tub of mid to late 60s Seiko dive watches that we paid $1 for.
Man, that's brilliant. That is fantastic.
I posted that on Instagram because I didn't know. I was like, in fact, the thing said, "How did we do?" And I start getting offers like immediately. And if you know Time with Pop, he's on Instagram. Nice guy, watch guy, and he sent me a private message. He goes, "Dude, you don't have any clue what you have because one of them is the 62 Moss. There's the Pepsi. There's the Hogue, and so he helped me get them all priced." They sold the next day. I walked away with $3,300 cash.
Oh, I believe it. Yep.
Wow.
I believe it. Yeah, you're at the very, very beginnings of the quartz revolution as well. You know, and I don't know if those were automatic.
Those are all automatics.
They were all automatics, yeah. So even like with the Japanese JDM models still making automatics at that point. I mean, vintage of anything in the 60s automatic is lots. Yeah.
There you go. Gary knows his watches. And 007. If you ever got 007.
I do know that, yeah. Which is where the watches thing comes from.
It is fun, guys.
I do appreciate everybody's time tonight. We are going to wrap up this show. Before we leave, though, please make sure that you do subscribe to these fine guys' YouTube channels. Again, I put the link down below. Scott, thank you again for stepping in and co-hosting tonight. And Eric, thank you so much for being our guest on the show. Gary, you keep willing, dude. I'll see you on the golf course sometime soon.
I sure hope so.
And to everybody in the chat, thanks so much for coming out. Y'all stay safe out there and have fun picking. See y'all later. Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.